In her song, Soak Up the Sun, Sheryl Crow says it's not having what you want, it's wanting what you've got. Toastmaster Mark Ahlers definitely didn't want what he got when an uninvited guest arrived. But as you will hear, once he began to appreciate his guests, Mark actually got what he wanted. Mark's speech is entitled Pre-Dawn Surprise. Please welcome distinguished Toastmaster Mark Ahlers.
Thank you, Tim. Great job. My day usually begins as pastel shades of peach, blue, and gray appear on the horizon and are reflected on the lake below. And if I pay close attention, I'm usually treated to a demonstration of aerial acrobatic excellence as the neighborhood bats finish their final feeding frenzy before heading home to roost. But April 27th was different. I had an early appointment and would be leaving home long before sunrise, thereby missing my daily bat encounter, or so I thought. As I was fixing breakfast, I was startled as an unidentified flying creature streaked towards me. I instinctively raised my hands and braced myself for the impending impact. Just inches from contact, the aerial invader veered hard to the right into the living room and then began a circling pattern around the main areas of the house. It was then I recognized its distinctive flight pattern. My uninvited guest was indeed a bat. I don't know why, but the first thought that popped into my head was, what would Carmelo do in this situation? And I thought, no, that won't work. I don't have a shotgun available, or any hand grenades for that matter. So I opted for plan B instead. I headed to the garage, opened the garage door, and was confident my bat friend, with his super sensitive auditory abilities, would hear the garage door open, feel the fresh air, and make a beeline to freedom. But I was wrong. So I grabbed a broom and headed back into the house. I figured I could use it to help guide my guests back out through the garage. But I quickly realized my bat steering skills were no match for a creature whose aviation skills would make Luke Skywalker feel inadequate. So I set the broom aside and opened the double doors that lead out back to the lake. Since the bat had been flying within a few feet of the doors, I figured he'd sense an opportunity to escape and would flee to freedom. But once again, I was wrong. He just kept circling as if waiting for instructions from the control tower. So I figured I would become the control tower. So I positioned myself just outside his flight path, pointed both hands towards the double door, and then sent him a mental message to exit at the rear. Well, unfortunately, he failed to heed my request. Instead, he buzzed the control tower, which triggered a minor mishap of the gastrointestinal variety in me and left me fully complying with my own request to exit at the rear. So I retreated to the laundry room for obvious reasons. While there, it dawned on me that perhaps I had insulted my guest. First, I had asked him to leave through the garage, and then through the back door. Perhaps if I afforded him the common courtesy of leaving through the front door, he would take his one bad flock and get his flock on out of my house. So I swung open the front entry doors, walked out onto the front walkway, and waited patiently for my guests to leave. Sure enough, a moment later, that's exactly what he did. So I quickly secured all the exterior doors, put the broom away, figured that was the end of the bad shenanigans. But once again, I was wrong. Because the very next morning, as I was clearing cobwebs from the front porch, I spotted him again. He was roosting on a small perch where the stone wall meets the porch ceiling. And situated directly below him was a pile of bat excrement, also known as guano. I was so upset that he had soiled my new front porch pavers that I headed to the garage to retrieve a 2x4 or other solid object to use to permanently evict him. It was there that I spotted another bat. This one hailed from Kentucky and was part of the Louisville Slugger clan. I grabbed it, headed back to the front porch for a little family reunion. I coiled that bat back, and just as I was about to unleash the full force of my fury on that tiny sleeping creature, it dawned on me that perhaps his fecal discharge was not a voluntary act on his part. Just as he had scared the guano out of me, perhaps I had done the same to him. And with that realization, I laid my weapon down. And by the time the pastel shades of daybreak appeared once again, my bad friend had permanently vacated the premises and left me with but a fond memory, a pungent porch, and a pair of seriously soiled shorts. Mr. Toastmaster.